Hello, hello! Welcome to Cooking with Dorothy. I'm just here close to the camera for a moment as I tag people, and then I promise I will move it back so you don't see my face this close the whole time. Just want to make sure that I get everybody tagged and in here so we can get this rocking. Tonight we are making the peanut butter CTP cookies. They're amazing and so quick and easy to whip up. I hope you had a chance to look at the recipe and that you've got your ingredients ready to rock and roll. Such a nice little treat to have. There we go. Is that better? So if you guys are here tuning in and notice somebody's missing, please feel free to give a little tag to them in the comments. So just tag them in the comments so that they can tune in. And if you're tuned in and you don't have your ingredients, you're not cooking with us, that's all right. Just make sure you grab your paper, your pen, so that you can take some notes as we are cooking along here. Could even make yourself like a little Cooking with Dorothy notebook, because each Cooking with Dorothy I give some little tips and tricks about baking or other ingredient kind of tips, I suppose. So you guys could go ahead and do that. I'm just trying to pull it up here on the live up here on the computer so I can answer some questions. I may have to try something different though, because I don't see the live here on my computer. So let me try again. I would just like to answer your questions. Oh, there, got it. I gotta tell you a little story before we start. Oh, I am so spoiled because I got for Valentine's Day a new computer. So Drew totally surprised me, totally shocked me with a brand new MacBook Air. And it's so crazy because we never do big gifts for Valentine's Day. Like usually we do homemade or little letters or cards or just little mementos, if that's a word. Little things like that, like meaningful letters. So for me to get like a big present like this is just so huge for us. But I had been having some struggles with the computer I had borrowed from this school. It was my school computer, but not the most friendliest device. I think all of you teachers who are in Chinook's Edge probably would agree with me that our Chromebooks are not super easy to use and not super friendly to use. So I was really frustrated, but I didn't think the day would come that I would get my new computer for a very long time. And then what comes for Valentine's Day? A new computer. Oh my gosh. So I can't complain anymore, you guys, because I got my dream computer. So I cannot be complaining about it anymore. So let me just check here quickly who we've got tuned in with us tonight. And then we'll get rocking and rolling with these cookies. Cindy's in here. Hey, Cindy. Cindy, thank you so much for the suggestion for Cooking with Dorothy tonight. It was Cindy's idea to do the peanut butter cookies. So thanks, Cindy. I always appreciate those suggestions. Shauna's in here. Susan's in here. Hello. Linda's in here. Linda, I just got your package all ready to go and it'll be shipped out tomorrow. Thank you for your order. And Hilda's in here. Drew said, so excited for this one. I know Drew messaged me earlier and was like, what ingredients do I need? I'm like, maybe check the recipe, Drew. But I was a nice wife and I told him what the ingredients were. I preheated my oven here so it's all ready to rock and roll. My oven, the suggestion in the recipe is 350 to heat it up to. I always put my oven a little lower because I feel like it cooks hot. Like most recipes, it's too hot. So you kind of decide, you're used to your oven and you know what it's like. So decide if you want that 350, if you're comfortable with that, or if you find it cooks a little bit too much, you can put that down to 325 like me. Stephanie's in here, hello. And Anna says, hi, cookie. We're making the cookies. Drew tagged Jason, thank you. And Drew tagged Stephanie O'Brien. Thanks for all the tags, Drew. Tagged Teresa as well. And Louise Reeves in here. And Dion, thanks for the tag for that, Drew. All right. Let's get rocking. Stephanie Cardle says, that's awesome. What a thoughtful gift. Good for you, Drew. He got lots of bonus points for that Valentine's Day gift. Let's see. Anita says, that is fantastic. So happy for you. I cannot tell you how much it has lowered my stress level in just like a week. You know what's funny? I don't even know if I told you this, Drew. But Valentine's Day came, it was a Sunday, and I'm not sure if we shared with you guys, but Drew and I did a little picnic, because usually for our Valentine's Day, Drew and I, we do a picnic on the beach. That's our tradition, that's our thing. But of course, not at the beach with Drew this year, so we didn't get to do our picnic. But Drew was like, let's still do it. Like, I'll have my picnic here, you have your picnic there. So we made a grocery list together, went out, got the same ingredients, and I was sitting here on a blanket on the floor, and we FaceTimed, and Drew was sitting on a blanket on the floor in our apartment in LA, and we had our little picnic. But then Valentine's Day came and went, and I was like, yeah, we had our little picnic, but I didn't get a letter, or I didn't get a card, or a little something Valentine's Day. But I tried not to like get too upset about it. I was like, whatever. Like, but I never thought that this was coming in the mail. It came a little bit after Valentine's Day, so that was a true surprise. Anna says, nicely done, Drew. That's what my boys got me for a gift a couple years ago, and I loved mine. It's awesome. I'm just going through lots of comments. Who's got their ingredients ready to go and are going to make these beautiful cookies with me? This is, I don't want to like show, I'm on my tiptoes here, but I don't want to tilt the plate too much because they're going to come right off. I can feel it. I can feel it happening. But let me just take one cookie off the plate. This is what we're making. I threw some chocolate chips in mine. Peanut butter chocolate chips. And I'll do that with you guys tonight. Maybe if I put it a little lower, you can see them. Oh, look at that goodness. That's what we're making tonight. These deliciousness cookies. You only need CTP. Let's count the ingredients. CTP, applesauce, or coconut oil. So I'm going to show you how to interchange applesauce and coconut oil tonight. And then you need peanut butter, maple syrup, and vanilla is optional. 5 ingredients to make these yummy little delicious bites. Yum. They're our favorite recipe. Even Drew can make them. Drew says, I got my ingredients, smarty pants. And thank you guys. Drew says, thanks for your order to Dion. It's in Airdrie ready for you. Yes, it is. Susan's in here. Thanks for all the tags, Drew. I think Drew tagged everybody. Melody's in here. Melody, I will be using your Watkins vanilla tonight. I love that vanilla. If you guys need anything, Watkins Melody is your gal for that. All right, let's get going. I think I got to all the comments, but you guys didn't tell me if you're cooking with me or not. Write in the comments. Drew's, I know, making the cookies, and Stephanie just said, cooking with you. I love Monday nights. All right, let's go. Let's do this. My oven's all preheated. It's at 325. You can put yours at 350 if you like. I always like to go a little bit lower temp and cook a little longer than to have burntness. But you guys know your oven, so you decide. So I have my dry ingredients just to kind of speed things up a little bit. I have my dry ingredients already here mixed in. So you need a cup of CTP. And the black bag is for baking. Some people choose to use this one in smoothies too, but we suggest the black bag for baking. So you'll throw a cup of that in your bowl right now if you're making it along with us. And then I also put in, this isn't in the, you don't absolutely need the baking soda and the baking powder, but it does change kind of the way the cookies fluff up a little bit. So if you do, I put in these ones, a teaspoon of baking soda and a teaspoon of baking powder. So you can try that out, throw that in right now. So half a teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And then a little secret ingredient too that I like, and maybe not everybody else would enjoy, but I like sweet and salty together. So I always sprinkle a little bit of Himalayan salt in there. So I've already put my salt in there, so I'm not gonna do it again, but just a couple turns of the grinder I put in there, and then it makes it kind of gives you that sweet and salty mixture. And then just mix up your flour, the CTP, because there could be some chunkies in there. So just mix that up nicely. And Linda says, my daughter and I are cooking with you. Awesome, that's great. I love when people cook along. And Melody says, thanks Dorothy for the promo for Watkins. You're welcome. You're welcome. I love my Watkins vanilla. You know, when you buy the good quality stuff, it lasts so much longer as well. Like I bought this quite a long time ago, and I bake a lot, and I still have about half left. It's awesome stuff. So you can contact Melody if you need anything Watkins. Drew says, cooking with Dorothy too. I'm actually looking forward to these. Gives me some accountability to bake, because Drew usually just waits for me to bake. Isn't that right, Drew? Be like, what are you baking? Or will you bake me the cookies or the muffins? And of course I do. All right, so let's talk about the wet ingredients now. So let's just talk about the coconut oil versus the applesauce. So they're interchangeable in a recipe, and what they do is they replace the butter. So the applesauce or the coconut oil is to replace butter in a recipe. So you can, if a recipe has a half a cup of butter, for example, but you don't want to use butter, which we don't suggest using butter in baking because it's generally a lot of butter. Like usually they want a cup or they want a half a cup, and that's quite a bit of butter. You know, if you want to use a little bit of butter now and again in cooking or on a slice of toast or something, like, it's not a huge deal. But when we are baking, it's usually a lot. So we try to stay away from it as much as possible. So if you're using applesauce, 1/4 cup of each, they're equal amounts, so 1/4 cup of each. But if you're using the applesauce, what I find the most difference is the applesauce is going to give you more of a chewy texture, maybe a bit moister. The coconut oil gives you more of a crunchy texture. So this one was made with coconut oil. It's quite crunchy. I could break it right here for you. You hear those crumbles? So it's quite a crunchy cookie with the coconut oil. But if you're going to use the applesauce, it's a chewier cookie. So it's nice to switch things up. Some people like crunchy, some people like chewy. Sometimes you like both and you want to switch it up. That's kind of the difference. But you can use the same equal amounts. So because my applesauce isn't open, this is our homemade applesauce actually. We have a crab apple tree in our garden, and then we just collect the crab apples when it's time, and we make applesauce with them, and that's what we use throughout the year for our baking, or sometimes we throw it on top of our granola or in our granola, and before it bakes, and sometimes we throw it on top of yogurt. It's really nice as well, but just apples, nothing else. And that brings me to a good point. If you're buying applesauce at the store, make sure it's unsweetened. We like organic applesauce if you can. because then you know the apples haven't been heavily sprayed. And then a lot of times the applesauce, they'll add a bunch of stuff to it, like sugars and stuff. So just make sure organic if you can, and then absolutely unsweetened. Let's see if we have any questions here. Cindy says, when's the last time you actually baked, Drew? Actually, Cindy, he made some brownies the other day. He did do that. Be nice or I'll take away your computer. Not if you can't find it. I'll hide it, Drew, and then you won't be able to take it away. Louise Reeves is cooking with us too tonight. Let's see what else. Cindy says, oh no, that's the thing I just read. Anna says, I'm planning on half oat flour and half CTP. Is that all right? You betcha. If you don't want to use the full cup of CTP, you can definitely tone it down with another flour. Oat flour is pretty easy to work with. I really like almond flour, but it's tricky to work with. So I wouldn't suggest that if you're a newbie, like if you're a new baker, like healthy baker. I wouldn't suggest that one. That one's quite tricky. But oat flour is quite easy to work with as a gluten-free. Quinoa flour is quite easy as well to work with. Drew says, I baked brownies on the weekend. Thank you. Yes, you did. Can you tell me what's in the dry ingredients bowl again? Where were you, Drew? All we got in the dry ingredients bowl is the CTP and the salt, and then I threw in a half a teaspoon of baking soda. Half a teaspoon of baking soda and 1 teaspoon of baking powder. So I threw that in as well. And then a splash of salt, a crank of salt, because I like it a little salty. Then let's throw in either your applesauce or your coconut oil. 1/4 cup of either applesauce or coconut oil. Remember, coconut oil is going to make a little bit crunchier cookie. Applesauce is going to make a little bit chewier of a cookie. I just have to grab my teaspoon because I forgot to grab it. And then we're going to throw in our peanut butter. The recipe calls for 1 cup. I remembered my tissues this time. Last week I was having to always turn my back to wipe my hands, but I remembered my tissues this time. The recipe calls for a full cup of peanut butter, but as you can see, the natural peanut butter can be a little bit trickier because it's always a different consistency. And mine is pretty runny, so I decided to go with a half a cup of peanut butter because it's quite runny. So then it will be, if I put too much of it, it's gonna make the cookies quite oily. So that's why I'm going with a half, but depends on kind of the consistency of your peanut butter, how much you put in. But if it's a pretty good consistency, it's not too runny, not too oily, you can go with the full cup. You don't want to use the peanut butter. Natural peanut butter is so tricky. But when you get kind of if you haven't stirred your peanut butter very well, it's kind of if you don't stir the peanut butter very well, it's pretty oily on the top and then pretty dry on the bottom. So you want to try your best to stir that peanut butter, get down to the bottom of the jar and stir that really well, so that the consistency of the peanut butter is the same throughout the entire jar, which can be difficult to do. But one little trick that we do often is when we first buy our natural peanut butter, we'll tip it upside down in the pantry before we open it and take the seal off. We'll tip it upside down in the pantry, and that seems to help get it spread out a bit more even. Or we'll rotate it on its side, for a few days before we open it. We'll just have it on its side like this and kind of rotate it throughout a few days. That seems to mix it quite nicely as well, but you still got to get in there with a big old spoon and get that stirred up well, or else you're going to have really oily at the top and then pretty dry at the bottom. Susan mentioned to us yesterday in our Success Sunday, our live Q&A, that if you're in Didsbury, that the Buy and Low has the Adams brand on sale this week. So if you're in that area, definitely check out that sale. That's a good sale. I always find if I buy the cheaper peanut butter, natural peanut butters, they don't mix as well. So if you're having some trouble with the peanut butter situation, maybe you want to try better quality peanut butter. And then always make sure that there's just one ingredient in your peanut butter, and that's peanuts. I saw some comments coming in. Let's get to them. Drew said, should I use half almond butter and half peanut butter or all of one? Go for half and half, Drew. I said get crazy. Almond butter, peanut butter, cookies. Try it out. Go for it. Was there any comments before that? Drew says, so what happens if you accidentally dump way too much applesauce in the bowl? Get your spoon and dig some out. Then you'll have really chewy cookies if you put too much applesauce. Is there a difference between liquid and solid coconut oil? That's a great question, Sue. Just 1 second, Sue. I'm going to come back to your question. Drew said, can you tell me what's in the dry bowl? Oh, I already did that. I already said that. Okay, let's go to Sue's question. Is there a difference between liquid and coconut oil? So in its natural state, coconut oil is solid. And then when it heats to a certain temperature, then it'll get a liquid. So I'm not quite sure what they do to the coconut oil to get it to stay liquid all the time. And that's what kind of concerns me, is that, well, what do they do to it? How do they process it so it stays liquid the whole time? So that's why we prefer to use the solid. And in this case, like, I'm not gonna melt it. It's like butter, right? It's soft like butter. If you had stored it in the fridge, it might be a little harder, so you'll want it to be like room temperature. But I'm not gonna like melt it on the stove, or I'm not gonna put it in the microwave to get it a liquid, because then I'm gonna kind of alter it a little bit. I mean, I know we are baking it and gonna cook it at a high temperature, but still, at least I'm not doing that twice. Hopefully that answered your question, Sue. I would stick to the solid stuff. Louise Siebert says, sorry, I'll watch the replay later. You got it, Louise. No worries at all. I'm so happy I can see all the comments. That just makes my day. Susan says, we usually put the whole jar into the mixer. That's a great idea, Sue. Cindy says, boy, Drew, you got a lot of questions. You think you don't bake often? Oh my, that's so funny. And then Melody says, I love the applesauce made out of apples from your apple tree in your backyard. Love Adam's peanut butter. It's a good one for sure. And Drew says, feel like I'm back at fitness class. Because we always like to give Drew a hard time at fitness class. How much chocolate chips should we add? I go with 1/4 cup. Not too many. Just a sprinkle of chocolate chips. Not too many chocolate chips. Just a little tasty of chocolate chips. There's some like cookie recipes that are like 1 cup of chocolate chips or 1/2 cup. That's way too many. We just want a little taste. A little tasty. Because it is tough to find chocolate chips that are clean. But if we just want to sprinkle a few in there once in a while, maybe not every time we make them, but if we want to sprinkle a few in there once in a while, just a little bit. Drew says, there are 2 different kinds of coconut oil. Fractionated coconut oil, better quality, stays in liquid form. Yeah, I don't totally understand all that. What you meant, Drew. Drew, should I bring you on and you can explain it? But there's nothing wrong with solid coconut oil. So what do they do with it? So my question is, Drew, what do they do to make it stay liquid? because in its natural form it's solid. Okay, let's get our maple syrup in there. You can use honey too, interchangeably. So if you don't have maple syrup, Drew wants on. Drew, I've never done this before. Oh hell. It says Drew request to join. Approve. If it works, Drew. It says adding Drew. Drew's on. Woo! Hey, Drew.
Hey!
So yeah, I didn't really understand that comment you made about the coconut oil. So I was like, maybe he can just come on.
I've actually been doing a lot of research around coconut oil, and maybe it's a good time to share. So just real quick.
It's not a long sciencey version, a short.
Okay,
short version.
I'll just be quick. So you have your coconut oil, and that's usually, let's just say that comes as like I think of like a coconut, think of your solid coconut as a coconut. And then from there, there's 4 different main types of coconuts, and they all start with C. So like C6, C8, 10, and 12.
So 4.
So
4
there's 4. Yeah. So the C6 is really hard. Like it's really hard on your taste. Like they don't really process it because it doesn't taste really well. And I should mention, so these are called fractionated coconut oils, and they're also, I forget what I was going to say, but these are fractionated, so they're a bit different. So they actually extract from the solid coconut oil, they can extract specific types of strands, if you will. So the C8 is the best for brain health, actually. So if anyone's dealing with Alzheimer's or has that in their family, or dementia, or if you're looking for brain clarity, cognitive function, it's fantastic for your brain health. And then you have C8, and then you have C8 and C12. So I'm not going to get into that too much, but it's called fractionated oil, coconut oil. It's actually, or MCT oil, and you don't actually taste the coconut in it. So that's like, they take the best out of the solid, if you will.
But the stuff at the grocery store that's liquid, like sitting in the baking section, that's not MCT oil. That's
not MCT oil. So that's just processed differently. Yeah. And it's so MCT oil is different than coconut oil. MCT oil is the higher quality strands that they pull out. The other one is just coconut oil in liquid form, the same type of quality as the solid.
So there wouldn't be much of a difference then, is what you're saying? Like in the baking section or the oil section in the grocery store, you see like the liquid coconut oil beside the olive oil, for example. That would be similar or the same as your solid one?
Yes. However, you have your cold pressed, for example, and then you have your extra virgin, for example. Then you have them where they're sourced. So I'm pretty sure you can get anything sourced in like China, but you can look at Sri Lanka, for example, or even the Philippines. They have better quality coconut oils. So that would be something that you want to look for as well.
But if we're baking with it, that would be fine.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with the regular types. That's a solid. There's nothing wrong with that. We use coconut oil all the time. Mm-hmm. The fractionated stuff, the MCT specifically, I would say it's cleaner, it's healthier, brain health, cognitive function. But if you're baking with it or even stir fries, the solid is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. I would just, like, if you're looking to take it to the next level and you want some extra benefits, then you would go for better quality.
Okay. Woo! Answers.
There you go.
Answers. Okay,
I crashed your show.
Thank you for tuning in. Are you gonna hop off? Or are you gonna?
I'm gonna get off. I'm gonna let you take it away.
I'm gonna take it away.
Okay, bye, everyone. You're welcome.
Okay, let's throw in our maple syrup or honey. I'm gonna speed up a little bit because we're getting on to the half hour here, so I don't want to keep it too much longer. So 1/4 cup. I don't know why I like using a tablespoon, but 3 tablespoons or 1/4 cup, whatever you prefer. It's the same. 3 tablespoons, 1/4 cup don't know why I like using a tablespoon, just to confuse you all. So throw in your honey or maple syrup, 1/4 cup, and a teaspoon of your vanilla. I just free pour. You guys know that about me now. Just free pouring it. And then I have a 1/4 cup of chocolate chips here. That's probably even a little bit too many. Drew would not approve. I probably put too many. And it says, thanks, Drew. Always so much awesomeness to learn. That's right. And then Stephanie, too, says, thanks, Drew. And Anita, thanks, Drew. Yeah. And Susan said, thanks, too. Yeah, that's always awesome, Drew, that you can pop on like that. So let's get this stirred up. If you use coconut oil, just make sure that you get that spread nicely throughout the cookies. This is just going to take a minute. And then I have ready to go parchment paper lined cookie sheet. I'm just making sure my coconut oil is spread nicely. Just make sure your ingredients are mixed quite well. And the batter is going to be a little bit sticky. That's normal. Okay, I think mine's mixed pretty well. Oh gosh, I just want to eat one now. They're so delicious. I don't know how I'm going to eat all these cookies. I'm going to have to share them. Or you know what? They do freeze pretty well. So you could always, if you have too many, or if you want to get ahead of the game, make a double batch. On a Sunday, on Success Sunday, make a double batch, and then, oh, I need this. Next Valentine's Day, maybe I'll have a bigger kitchen. Kidding, kidding, kidding. Our kitchen is just fine. Alrighty, so let's roll these up with a tablespoon. So it will be a little bit sticky, but that's okay. And then just tablespoon. And I always push it out with my thumb. Roll it up. Plop it on. Stephanie says, I may have snuck a bit of the batter before I put them in the oven. Yummy. It is yummy batter. Oops, I can see I didn't mix my coconut oil totally awesomely. So this recipe should make a dozen to 15, depending on the size of your balls. Sometimes I like to make the balls a little bigger, so I have a little bit bigger cookies. So yeah, just keep on rolling. I won't roll the whole thing because then you guys will be stuck with me a bit longer. I'll roll a couple more. Then all we have to do is flatten with a fork. So after you roll them all, just flatten them with a fork and then throw them in the oven. Start with 10 minutes and then start 10-12 minutes and then add more time on if they're not cooked yet. It's hard to say exactly because just like the temperature, every oven's a little different. So you have to kind of be super patient with baking and healthy baking in particular, because it's going to take some trial runs to get it the way that you want it. You have to play around with your ingredients a little bit, your oven temperature. So just be patient and have fun. That's the biggest thing. Is I used to get so, Drew can relate to this, but I used to get so frustrated when things weren't turning out, and then I wouldn't want to do it because it just would flop or it wouldn't be perfect. But it's not about being perfect. It's about trying new things, experiencing new things, and about having fun. So just have fun with it. So I have 15 here. I still have a little bit of batter left. I'm going to make some of my smaller cookies a little bigger. I'm just going to add on some dough to some of the small ones. And we can flatten them up with a fork. And we're good to throw them in the oven. And that's how easy it is. I mean, if we didn't talk so much, this wouldn't have taken so long. But I do hope that you've enjoyed the information as well that, you know, Drew popping on to talk about coconut oil and then talking about applesauce versus coconut oil. And I hope you've enjoyed all the info as well. It's not just your regular cooking show now, is it? You got some healthy information as well. Drew says, what do you think about organic raw coconut sugar instead of honey? I never really cook with sugar ever. So I think the batter might be a little bit too dry, Drew, because the honey is wet. But what you could do, could just add a sprinkle of water to it if it's a bit too dry. But try it out. Try it out. You can be our tester. Okay, with my fork, now just going to put those X's into my cookies. X's, is that what it is? Just going to flatten these. You can smoosh them right down, you guys, nice and flat. You don't want balls. So smoosh those down nice and flat. And then just all you got to do is pop them in the oven. Looks like Stephanie was a little bit ahead of us there. Hey, she's already got hers in the oven. She's probably ready to snack on hers. I like that these ones don't take too long. It's like 10 to 15 minutes max. Smoosh them down really good. Then pop them in the oven. I will start at 10 minutes, then see how they look. Add on more time if I need to add on more time. All right, that's all I got for you guys. So once they're done in the oven, they're gonna look like this. And they freeze really nice too. So you can always pop them in like a nice sealable, like airtight container and pop them in the freezer so then you have extras for another week. Anita says, any info is awesome. I so look forward to Sundays and Mondays. Aw, thanks. Cindy says, or don't stir your peanut butter as much if using organic sugar. Not sure what you mean, Cindy. Don't stir the peanut butter as much. Oh, so it's more oily? Is that what you meant, Cindy? Stephanie says, love it. Love the info and all the extra tips you always share. Awesome. Awesome, awesome, awesome. All right. I'm going to pop those in the oven. Then I'm going to sit down. I'm going to relax. I'm going to enjoy some cookies. You know, sometimes I like a nice warm almond milk. So I'll warm up almond milk. Sometimes I'll put a drop of lavender in there. Warm lavender milk is like my fave. And I think that would go really good with my cookie right now. Warm lavender milk and a peanut butter cookie is coming for me here. All right, guys, I'm going to let you, oh yeah, Cindy says oily, more moist. Gotcha. Now we're on the same page, Cindy. Susan says, thank you. I'll try making them later in the week. Awesome, Susan. Let us know. Post your pictures. We want to see your pictures. So if you made them tonight with us, or if you are making them later in the week or tomorrow, whatever, post them so we can check those out. And it says great info. Sorry, Hannah. Lost it. So much more advice than a written recipe. That's awesome. Okay, I'm out of here. Oh, Drew is just saying a reminder. Join me live tomorrow for a workout. That's right. Live workout tomorrow, 6:30 a.m. Mountain Time. We'll see you there. Have a great night, everyone. Enjoy your cookies. Thanks for tuning in. Bye, guys.